Welcome, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to start while the last of us are finding our seats. There are plenty of seats. There are some seats up here if you're looking for some. I'd like to welcome everyone to Congregation B'nai Tzedek. We have our B'nai Tzedek family here. We have members who are our family, and we have guests today from other shuls and other faith-based programs. So I'd like to welcome everyone on this very, very meaningful and special Shabbat to Congregation B'nai Tzedek. As you know, we are a proudly unapologetic Zionist community. There is no division in that. Whether or not you're a member here, you can always come in here and find a home and find support for Israel and find someone singing Hatikvah. So I hope to see you all again. I'd like to introduce, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure those are maybe only one or two, Bruce Genderson, B'nai Tzedek's past president, chairman of our board of trustees, and immediate past president of AJC. Bruce does so much for the Jewish community here and abroad, and we are lucky to call him our own. But more importantly, sorry, Bruce, I'd like to welcome Aviva and Keith Siegel to our congregation. Aviva and Keith are home from captivity. You will hear their stories. They are not letting the world forget. After the Holocaust, we said, we will never forget, the world will never forget. Very sadly, we now will never forget another tragedy and story, and we still have 3 of our family members who are not yet home. And we are praying and we are waiting, and our chair for the hostages will remain until they are home. So before I let them speak, I would like to also ask you, so that we don't end on a cheery note, although we are very heartened and cheered about a homecoming, there are many flyers up front, different programs to support Israel, different programs to support the local and greater United States Jewish community, programs for Hanukkah, programs for the fundraiser gala, which is an amazing comedy night in May. If we don't fundraise, which we only have one major fundraiser a year this year, we can't bring programs in. We can't bring in amazing, great people like the Siegels. So please stop by the table, see our flyers, join us in all times where we all stand together. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Karen. I'm going to shorten my introduction of Keith and Aviva, because Karen did it so beautifully. But I do want to give you a little bit of background. Aviva was born in South Africa, immigrated as a child to Israel. Keith grew up in North Carolina, and when he was 20, was visiting Israel, met Aviva, they fell in love, and the rest was history. They lived on Kibbutz Kfar Aza, on the Gazan border. This is a community that was devoted to building bridges with Palestinians and to peace. And as I'm sure all of you know, on October 7th, both of them were brutally taken hostage in a horrific day for them, along with many others, and held in captivity. Aviva was hostage for 51 days. After she was released, she worked tirelessly to advocate for the release of Keith and the other hostages. Keith was held hostage under the most horrific imaginable conditions for 484 days, and when he was released, the two of them traveled the world, literally, to keep the fate of the remaining hostages in the forefront of our minds. And they continue to do that work even today. So to the two of you, your strength is an inspiration to all of us, and an incredibly important message about the importance for all of us to support each other and to do what we can to support the security of Jews, both at home, in Israel, and throughout the world. So thank you both for being here. And I want to start by asking you, I can't imagine having to relive what you went through over and over again, but you're doing it. Why are you here today? And why is it important for you to relive your ordeal to a bunch of strangers? Aviva, why don't you start?
Okay, can you hear me?
Good.
First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming to hear Keith and I. And I just want to say that I'm very, very excited that Keith is here, sitting next to me, and that he's alive, because I've been here, I think, in the show, saying that we don't even know that he's alive. So Keith's alive, and he's here, and he's sitting next to me. So I want to answer the question. I don't feel like I'm living it again. I feel like it comes from the inside of me, from my heart. When Keith was left in Gaza, when I came back, the only thing that I thought about, what more can I do? Who can I talk to? Stand and scream to get Keith and the girls and all the hostages out. And I've been doing that for nearly 2 years. And it's part of me. I don't think that Gaza and what I went through will ever be able to be taken away from me. But I do know how to live with it. I know how to enjoy it now, enjoy life, I mean. And I just want to say that by Gali and Zivi, the twins that came back from Gaza, and all the hostages that did come back alive, that there's nobody suffering in Gaza anymore. We've got 3 to bring back that are left that aren't alive. But there's nobody suffering there, and the day that it happened, that they came back, I was born again. I feel like a different person. I smile, I eat, I'm happy, and the story will always, always be with me. Thank you.
You want to add anything, Keith?
I want to start out by thanking each and every one of you. I apologize if that was too loud. That's what Aviva thinks. Can everybody hear me? Okay. I'm generally a soft-spoken person, but it's very important for me that everybody hear what I have to say, because what I have to say is thank you all so, so very much for everything that you have been doing for so, so long to support Aviva, to support me, to support all of the hostages, support Israel, and all of you helped to get me released and reunited with Aviva and my family. So first and foremost, I wanted to say that. When I was released on the 1st of February of this year, a little over 9 months ago, I had no idea that I was released with, I believe, 32 other hostages, and that 4 of my friends that I spent time with in captivity, Aviva mentioned Gali and Ziv Berman from our community of Kfar Aza that we have known since they were born, and 2 other men, Omri Miran, a 48-year-old father of 2 young daughters, and Matan Angrist, who was an IDF soldier that was seriously injured on October the 7th. And we spent time together. I spent time together with each of those 4 hostages, and we experienced violence and abuse and cruelty beyond what I had ever imagined was possible. So when I was released and I came to know that my friends and many other hostages were still held by Hamas, I decided to dedicate my life to do whatever I can do to help bring them back and to bring all of the hostages back. So that's what I've been doing. That's what we've been doing, Aviva and I, since I was released. This is my 6th visit to the US, and Baruch Hashem, all of my friends and all of the alive hostages are back. But once again, the 3 hostages that remain in Gaza must be brought home. And I continue to talk about my experience, but I also want to stress the importance, the urgency of getting all of the remaining hostages back home. So I think that is my current mission, to both let people know what happened to all of the hostages, including me, and to call all of you and ask all of you to please continue to do whatever all of you can do to get the remaining hostages back. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it was 2 decades after the Holocaust before Holocaust denial really set in the West, but you've been back for a short period of time, and people in the West are already downplaying and trying to minimize what you went through. CNN anchor Christina Amanpour recently said that the Israeli hostages were treated, and I'm going to quote her, probably being treated better than the average Gazan. So as painful as I know this is, I think it's important that you describe what you went through on October 7th, and then how you and your fellow hostages who you were with were treated during captivity.
So Keith and I were kidnapped in a very brutal way. When the Hamas took us, they shot Keith, they pushed him, they broke his ribs, and they pulled me out of the window after Keith, and they tore my meniscus in my knee that I'm suffering until today. I'm going to have to go through an op. And surgery. Okay. Thank you, Keith. So,
US, not in South Africa.
Okay. What we went through is really the worst thing that any human being in this world should ever go through. And I can just say that for 51 days, all I wanted is to stay alive. There were so many moments that I could have not been alive, and I'm lucky, and Keith's lucky, after going through what we went through, because the bombs from Israel and the rockets that left the buildings that we were in towards Israel, the building used to shake. I used to count the cracks to see if the cracks are in the walls, to see if the building is going to make it this time when the rockets are sent to Israel to kill. And there wasn't a minute just to say to myself, okay, just relax, try and sleep, try and just think about good things. I can tell you that I did do my best, and I can say that Keith helped me all the time to go through these moments. And the girls that we were with Liri and Agam and Amit, and we became like one family, helping each other. I was scared to even ask to go to the bathroom because we weren't allowed to move. We weren't allowed to even decide to go to the bathroom by ourselves. We had to ask for permission. And the girls used to say, even if it's in the middle of the night, just wake me up and I'll ask for you and I'll come with you. And Keith, poor thing, for the first 5 weeks, all he could do is just try and figure out how to put his body down on this filthy, dirty mattress on the floor, because he was in so much pain with his ribs. I'll never forget one of the days the Hamas terrorists told us to come and sit in the living room on the sofa while he was staring at us and smiling. I don't know what he thought while he was doing that, but we just had to sit silent for hours, the whole day, and just wait for the day to end and tell us we can go back to the room and lie down on the mattresses. So Keith was there, and he was in so much pain, and he asked if he can go and lie down because it hurts, his pain in his ribs. And he said, no, you have to sit. And I looked at him, and I said to him, only for 5 minutes, just let him 5 minutes to relax his body. And he said, no. They were just so cruel to us. I'll never forget the moment with Gali underneath the ground. The Hamas put a zip tie on his hands that he won't be able to move. And when he came after a couple of hours, he brought a cutter to cut it off. And when he cut it off, he cut off part of Gali's hand, and Gali screamed. I wanted to scream. And in front of me, I see the Hamas terrorist smiling. He was happy that he did that. And that was like one of the first moments there that I understood that I'm going to go through hell, and that they are Hamas terrorists and that they're terrorists. I remember saying to myself, they're terrorists. Don't forget, they're not good people. So they weren't good to us in many, many ways. They used to starve us and eat in front of us and smile. They used to chew, coming out of the room next door, while they didn't bring us any food. And one of the days after 20 hours, I asked Amit, please just ask, when are we going to get some food? I was starting to feel really bad. And she asked him, when are we going to get some food? And he said, without blinking, it takes a long time to make food. And all we got after 24 hours is a half a piece of pita. And I took part of the pita and I started hiding food for Keith. And after a couple of days of hiding pieces of pita for Keith, Amit said, okay, Aviva, it's getting moldy. I'm going to throw it away. I looked at her in the eyes and I said, if it's moldy, we'll eat it. If we need to eat it, we're going to eat it. Keith, it's for you. And that's what we did. We tried to look after each other in every way that we could, because it was the only thing that we could hold on to. I'll never forget, in the middle of the night when there's bombs all the time, I shaked and I could not sleep. And I had Keith on one side, I had Agam very close to me, because it was the four of us on 3 mattresses at that stage. And Keith had a mattress for himself, so it was the 3 of us on 2 mattresses. So I was very close to her, to Agam. And every time there was an explosion, I used to hold her hands tight, because I was so scared. She was sleeping, but I had to hold on something to feel like that I'm going to manage to go through that moment. So I didn't sleep. I hardly ate because they starved us. I lost 10 kilos while I was in Gaza. I came out of Gaza sick. I had an infection in my stomach. We used to drink dirty water if we got the water. So many times we didn't even get water while they drank. I don't think that any of the Hamas terrorists lost weight. I think they even put on weight while they were with us. Everything was just so cruel and so terrible. But the worst thing for me is when they tortured Keith and when they tortured the girls. Those were the moments that I think that are in my heart, deep in my heart. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout. I wanted to ask them, the terrorists, what do you think you're doing? Because these people around me, Keith and the girls, are behaving. We're doing everything we can just to be okay, that they won't scream at us or hit us or push us or pull our hair. We did that, and it didn't help. It just didn't help.
I just want to say, when Aviva talked about mattresses, these are not mattresses that we know with springs and on a bed. It's like foam mattresses, which could be this thick or maybe a little more, on the floor. So we're lying on the floor or less. But I think before we continue, I want to say that we're talking about very, very difficult things that are very, very hard to hear. But I think it's very important for me to say to all of you that I found a lot of strength from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, from my being a part of the Jewish people, and my family gave me a lot of strength, and I was able to cope with this horrific situation that I was in for 484 days knowing that my family and my community and all of you, the Jewish people, were behind me and were supporting me and were doing whatever you could do and did. And that was very, very empowering to me. So I want to say that if any of you are ever in a difficult situation, that you should know that there are many people that love you and they support you and they will help you, and you should never feel alone. And that's what helped me get through my 484 days. So again, I mean, we're talking about very difficult things, and it's the difficult thing for me to tell all of you what I experienced is a feeling that I'm creating. I'm making you all feel bad, and I don't want to do that. I just only want good for everybody, for any decent people in this world. But I think it's important that everybody knows, and especially you mentioned Christiane Amanpour in her remark about the conditions of the hostage. It must be known that what hostages experienced in Gaza. So that's why I'm here, and that's why we are talking about very difficult things.
Do you want to share any more details about your captivity and what it was like and what you experienced?
So again, I was held for 484 days, out of which 6 months I was alone. And the rest of the time, for the first 50 days, I was with Aviva and a few other women hostages. And during that time, one of the women hostages that was with us, the terrorists were accusing her of being an officer in the IDF, which wasn't true. And one day they took this woman away, and then they told me that they were going to bring me to this woman, and that I must convince her to confess that she is an officer in the IDF. And they brought me into the room where I saw this woman lying on the floor, and they had tied her hands together and her feet together, and they had covered her face with tape. And there were 3 terrorists in the room. 2 of them were beating her with a rod, and one of them had put a sharp metal rod to the woman's forehead, and he was applying pressure to the rod to this woman's forehead. And knowing that this woman had nothing to confess to, knowing that she was not an officer in the IDF, I did what they told me to do. In retrospect, I came to realize that they had complete control over me at that time, and it became more and more distressing to me to think about that situation that I was in, that I was not able to help this woman, and I actually just did what the terrorists told me to do. So the torture that this woman went through, and I kind of feel like I experienced a different type of torture, and I continue to experience very difficult thoughts. But Baruch Hashem, this woman was released. I should have started out by telling you that. I'm sorry, but she came back, and she is alive, and we're in contact with her, and we try to support each other. We support each other. And I was relocated 33 times, spent time in tunnels, in suffocating tunnels where Aviva and I could barely breathe, literally gasping for our breath, and left alone in the dark with very, very little food, starved basically, and very, very little water. And and when I was alone, some of them wouldn't let me get up, wouldn't let me walk around, told me just to lie on the floor, and that's what I did, and I was just doing whatever they told me to do. and I was just being as nice to them as possible, and thanking them for bringing me food, thanking them for letting me go to the toilet. We had to ask permission to go to the toilet. And one day I was lying on the floor, and one of the terrorists came up and he stood above me, and he started to scream at me, and he spat on me, and he kicked me, and this happened day after day. And again, I had done nothing other than what he told me to do. And a terrorist pointed a pistol at me and said he was going to kill me. And again, I had done nothing, said nothing, and I just want to talk about being completely disconnected from the outside world and being completely disconnected from my family, and having no idea if Aviva had made it back alive, had no idea that my son, who was on our community on the 7th of October, what happened to him, just not knowing anything, and thinking a lot about my family's suffering and how much they're suffering, and it's because of me, and I was desperately trying to send them messages. In my imagination, I was contacting them, I was picturing their face in my imagination, and just talking to them and telling them I'm okay, and I hope they're okay. But I also want to add that I had promised myself that I must survive. I must survive to be reunited with Aviva, with my family, and to bring an end to their suffering. And that also gave me a lot of strength to get through my time in captivity.
I'll just tell you a little bit more about Keith. One of the times they took him while he was alone with 3 terrorists, and he slept.
On the landing of a stairwell in a school.
And he was
on the 3rd floor.
And he wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom at all during the day. He had to just hold himself. He was allowed to go to the bathroom only when it was dark. And for me to think about it, for him to be in a place like that with terrorists and with people that were going up and down, seeing Keith there, and they told Keith that he's supposed to play the game as that he can't talk at all, and that he's a mute. And for me to think about Keith going through that for 484 days is terrible. But I want to take you to one of those moments that Keith and I had together while we were taken underneath the ground. The Hamas terrorists were with us for the first hour, talking and talking, and when we arrived there, we could feel that we couldn't have any air to breathe. And we're sitting there, and then suddenly it's completely and utterly silence. And I looked at Keith and Amit that was with me, and I said to them, "What do you think? They left us here alone? I can't believe it. They left us here underneath the ground, 40 meters underneath the ground, and we're here alone. We've got that amount of water left, and they've gone. They didn't even say that they're going. They didn't say a word. They didn't say that they'll come. They didn't say anything. They just left." And the feeling of being left underneath the ground with no food and just a little bit of water and a couple of dates, I didn't know what to think. I just didn't know what to think. And we were like talking to each other, do you think they'll come, or are we just going to die there? So we're there, and then we have steps after many, many hours coming down, and the terrorists are coming down. And then Keith asked what the time is to know how much time has passed. We didn't even know if it's day, if it's night, or what's happening. So we were left there for more than a couple of days, and we got to the stage that Keith looked at me and he said that he can't breathe. And he was just like I was. And I said to him, "Keith, just lie down and try and breathe." And then the Hamas terrorists came down, and Amit started begging and saying she doesn't want to see these old people dead, because that's what's going to happen. So the Hamas terrorist looks at us and he says, very, very bad. No oxygen, but no house. And he left. So there we are. Keith and I and Amit can hardly breathe. And at that stage, I was scared to look at Keith. And I just said, just close your eyes, try and breathe. Don't look at Keith. You don't want to look at him dead. And I was like thinking to myself, what is it going to feel like being dead? What is it going to feel like seeing Keith dead? And then I said to myself, the only thing that I want more than anything else is to die before Keith. So I didn't look at Keith. And I was just trying to breathe. And at one stage, I decided that I'm going to have to separate from my life. And I remember saying goodbye to my family. And saying goodbye to Keith. And just waiting to die. So Keith and I touched death underneath the ground. And we're very, very lucky to be sitting here and telling you the story of what we went through. It was a very, very difficult moment. And as I said, for me to see Keith being tortured and to see Keith in that situation, I wanted to breathe for him. It's very difficult because we're humans. We feel, we've got hearts, and we were put in a situation that was taken away. One of the nights lying, like Keith said, it wasn't a mattress. It was something that you put on the mattress, this size. I took my foot out the blanket because I was hot. And I'll never forget, he came, the Hamas terrorist, and he covered my foot. And I remember that feeling, what? I can't even take my foot out. What am I doing? I'm just lying on the floor, on a mattress. And that's the amount of control that they had on us, because they had the control and they just took it in both hands and did whatever they wanted with us. Touched the girls, beated them, like he said, pulled my hair and pushed me when he decided that I needed to go to the bathroom. Well, I told him that I don't need to go, but he decided that I have to go. So he pulled my hair and pushed me into the bathroom. I'll never forget that moment.
And Keith, after Aviva was released and you were for a long time alone, how did you cope with that, and what allowed you to make it through those days of really complete solitary?
They said they were going to take Aviva, that she would be released the next day, and they said to us that I would be released the day after Aviva. And I remained with another woman hostage, with 3 terrorists, and I was both relieved. I was relieved that Aviva was being taken out of this horrific situation that we were in, hoping that this was the truth and she would actually be, that was actually happening. I was relieved, but I was also worried. I was worried about Aviva and what they were going to do with her actually, and hoping that she was going to be home and safe, and trying to believe that, and thinking that there's a possibility. And they had told Aviva and I from the very beginning that because we are old people, we will be the first hostages to be released, and which turned out not to be true. But this 40-year-old woman that I was with after Aviva was released had gone through, she was 3 weeks by herself from the 7th of October, and she has talked about the sexual assault that she experienced during that time, and she was chained to a bed. And this is the woman that we were together with for about a month, and I was dreading the thought that they would release me and this woman would stay alone with the 3 hostages. So she was released 5 days after Aviva was released, and then I was on my own. So I don't know, happy, relieved, I guess that both Aviva and this woman had been released, and figuring, I'll be okay. And I think the majority of the time, I thought I would be okay. And I don't know what okay is actually, but I was sure my family were suffering much more than I was. I was sure that people that lived in the Holocaust suffered much more than I was, and I was sure that many people were suffering much more than I was, and that gave me a sense of, I guess, feeling lucky, and any day that went by where I wasn't kicked or spat on or screamed at or being threatened to be killed by the terrorist, and I experienced all of those, was a day that I had a lot to say thank you for, to be grateful for, and to be alive. The fact that I was alive was something that I was very grateful for every day. And when I was with Aviva and the women, I recommended that we all, every day before we went to bed, say something good that happened during that day. And Aviva thought I was crazy. What good has happened? But as I mentioned, being alive, being in one piece, and having each other. I think having each other helped a lot. We were very supportive of each other. And when I was alone, I spoke about my family, and I spoke about carrying on imaginary conversations or sending them messages that I'm okay. It was empowering, and my Jewish faith became more and more stronger. I started to pray, and I blessed before meals, and saying Shabbat Shalom and Shema Yisrael, and I remembered a few prayers from my childhood that I hadn't said in a long time, and thinking about the history of our people and all the catastrophes that our people have endured and gone through and survived as a people, was very empowering. And just trying to focus on the present and being grateful and knowing or promising myself that I must survive to be reunited with my family. All of those helped me to get through the time I was alone and the time in general.
At any time during your captivity, did your captors ever show you any humanity at all?
I can say that no, not at all. And there were times sometimes that if there was one terrorist with us, then he was nicer than he was when there were terrorists with him. Because when they were together, they had to show each other how mean they were. And it was different, but even though they were nice maybe for 5 minutes later, they were terrible. Just wanted to kill us or starve us or whatever.
I spent time with around 60 terrorists, and there were 3 in each location that I was held in, and I mentioned that I was moved 33 times, so I spent time in very different locations and the conditions there. And I experienced around 60 terrorists that I was living with or locked up in a room, and they would bring me food. So I can tell you that one of them said to us, to Matan and I, that he is sorry that we are in this situation. Nonetheless, this guy and all of the around 60 terrorists that I was held by are members of Hamas. And you all know what Hamas did on October the 7th. And even in the past, way back, blowing up, buses in the 90s and just, murdering, killing innocent people and people that want peace and people that helped Palestinians in their lives and just indiscriminately killing people. And I think bringing a lot of, I also want to talk about the suffering of people in Gaza that is caused by Hamas. So, humane or not humane, or nice or not nice, I think it's important to remember who all of these people, the organization that they belong to, and are a part of, and denying me of my freedom, denying me any contact with my family, holding me in horrific conditions. Aviva mentioned the tunnels and the sanitation. You know, I spent 2.5 months in a house with 4 other men with one toilet that was flushed once a day. I was never able to properly clean my body throughout the 484 days. I went for weeks without being able to something clean part of my body. Actually, when I was released, I scrubbed my body 3 times with soap and with like not a scouring pad, but something like that, because when Aviva and my son Shai were waiting outside of the room at the base that I was brought to on my day of release, I just felt filthy, and I felt I couldn't meet Aviva and Shai being in that condition. So
we're getting close to the end, and there's some questions I wanted to ask you after your release. And I want to start by asking that there's a video that I think everyone here was sent from Operation Embrace that you two were on. And one of the things you said was that you wanted to share your hope for the future. And I'd like to know, what is your hope for the future?
Only good. I'll let you ask more questions. The future has to be good. We have got a lot of work to do in the world because there's so much hate, but we're going to do that all together because we're good people. And I always say that I'm proud to be a Jew and I'm proud to be on the side of the good. We'll always be good no matter what happens. And we'll be together, and that's what makes us special. And I've been here so many times, and I've been to other places with Jews, and I feel that we've got each other, we've got a lot of strength, and being together at a time like this, like we have been together, has been so much for me as a Jew, and I'm sure that a lot for you too. And we're going to continue talking about the truth, because the truth needs to come out. And let's hope that one day it'll change. It's going to take time, but we're going to get there.
Keith, you want to add anything?
I just want to say that the only way to go forward is to think that everything's going to be good, because if we don't think it's not going to be good, it'll stop us from getting there at the end.
I believe in peace, and I will meet with anybody in the world that wants peace and try to work together to achieve peace. I'm incredibly grateful for the love and the support that I've had, and the opportunities that I've been given, like this opportunity to meet with all of you, which you all give me a lot of strength. And I've been told by people that I give them strength, and that's just amazing for me to feel like we can share each other's strength and strengthen each other. And my life has changed dramatically. I think all of our lives have changed dramatically because of what happened. I'm doing things that I never imagined I would have done. Just the thought of sitting in front of audiences in the past was something that I found very scary, and creating a lot of anxiety, but I am hoping that by sharing both the horrific experience that I had, but also the strength that I came to know and recognize and realize, the strength that I have within me that I never imagined I had, is something that I cherish and something that I would like to pass on to all of you. And to know the strength you have, and to know, again, how many people love you and care about you and will help you in time of need. So I'm very optimistic about the future, and I invite all of you to share that feeling, and from now we will bring a lot of good to the world, all of us together.
I just want to say, by thinking about what he asked, I want us all to be very proud of ourselves. But just think about the groups of the Hamas sitting now together and feeling good about themselves. They feel good about killing, raping, beating. And we are so different than them, so we must feel proud. We want good for everybody, and we're going to do whatever we can for the good people, because they deserve a better life. And what we're doing, Keith and I, are talking for the next generation, for my grandchildren and Keith's grandchildren, for all the kids all over the world, because we have to. We just have to. We have to give them a better life. So I promise you, we're going to do it. We're going to do it, but we need you, and we need all the Jews together for this world to understand that all we want is good.
That's a good segue into a question. I've skipped a lot because of time, but a lot of American Jews kind of feeling helpless. They don't know what to do. They want to support you and other hostages who are suffering now. They want to support Israel, and they're not sure what to do. What is your message? What should we be doing to support Israel, to make your lives better, and to help move forward?
Well, there's lots of ways. First of all, I think that be together and be happy together and show the world that you're happy. I think that's a lot, and it'll mean a lot for us. The people in Israel, you know, my family, it's going to take a long time before everybody gets up. My kids go back to work. My grandchildren, I'm sure that they will carry it forever. Just a couple of weeks ago, my grandson, that's 11, allowed himself to ask us hard questions that he's been thinking about for a long time. And it just means that it's going to take time. It took him 2 years to ask those questions, so it's going to take time. I think that Israel is very lucky that we have you, because we do feel the support in many, many ways. So continue supporting in any way that you can think of. I know that many of you have come to Israel on trips. Israel is beautiful, so I think that it's amazing that you come, and that your children will come and your grandchildren will come, see how beautiful, and see, most of all, we're all happy. We're happy in Israel. We feel like there's going to be a huge change, because the hostages, nearly all of them, are back home. And Tel Aviv is like one big, huge party.
I would suggest, I would ask you all to support Operation Embrace. Operation Embrace is an amazing organization, and they brought Aviv and I to the United States, and they brought us here to meet with you. So that's one thing that I would highly recommend and ask you if you could support them.
That's a good segue, because we're going to hear from Operation Embrace next. But I want to end by thanking you both. I think I speak for everyone in the audience that the two of you are an inspiration to all of us. Your kindness, your compassion, your strength and resilience is just amazing. All of us here wish you nothing but blessings for the rest of your lives. And thank you for being here. Thank you for your message, and thank you for all you do for the Jewish people.
Thank you.
I just want to say, sorry. I just want to say thank you.
I want to say thank you very much.
Thanks. And now, I would love to introduce our fellow congregant, Sherry Abramson, who's going to talk about Operation Embrace. And thank you for all you do for Operation Embrace. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's really hard to stand here after you guys just spoke.
sit?
I'm a little still shooken up. Thank you. Yeah, do you
Go
want
ahead
to
and sit. I'll sit here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You are true heroes in every sense of the word. It's an honor to be here with you today. Like Bruce said, again, thank you. And I'm Sherry Abramson, a member of B'nai Tzedek. When Aviva Tesler, the founder and executive director of Operation Embraced, asked me to speak on her behalf, the first thing she shared is how wonderful it has been to organize this event with the B'nai Tzedek family. So on behalf of Operation Embrace, I'd love to give a big thank you to the team at CBT involved in seamlessly making today happen. Aviva, a Potomac resident, started Operation Embrace 24 years ago to help injured victims of terror attacks in Israel. I'm pleased to say that my family has been supporters of this initiative since the beginning. Operation Embrace provides personalized, practical assistance, emotional support programs, mobility equipment, emergency financial aid, long-term care resources, social activities that rebuild confidence, a compassionate community that reminds survivors they are not alone. This group has very little overhead, and all the funds go directly to facilitating a brighter future for victims of Israel terror and trauma. Every dollar makes an immediate and visual impact on a real person's healing and journey. I feel donating to Operation Embrace as a way to transform tragedy into hope. It's a way to stand with victims, show them they matter, and help them rebuild their lives with the dignity and strength that they clearly deserve. As we all know, the number of survivors living with physical and emotional trauma has grown in ways none of us could have imagined. Today, more than ever, Operation Embrace needs us. The demand for support, equipment, counseling, and direct assistance has skyrocketed, and Operation Embrace are on the front lines helping victims rebuild their lives. Please join my family to ensure even after the headlines fade, our support for these victims does not. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you again. You guys were amazing, and we will never forget what we learned from you, and you're really an inspiration to all of us. So thank you all.